Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to formalize some of the videos that we learned about in our investigations around distributing and combined like terms. So again, for today's video, nothing really will be new here. We just want to make sure we all got the big ideas from that investigation. So first what we're going to review is combining like terms. And we've discussed this at this point. Like terms are terms that have the same variable and the same exponent. So when we're combining like terms, we add or subtract the coefficients. So we're only messing with the coefficients, but we do not change the variable or the exponent. Those stay exactly the same. So let's look at an example. If I'm looking at this problem, I'm going to start with my first term here, my first part, and I see that I have a 3x squared. So if I'm looking for a like term, I want to find something else that has an x squared in it. So as I'm going down the line, I find here that I have a negative 4x squared. So my like terms are a 3x squared, and because this is negative, I know I'm going to be subtracting a 4x squared. 3 minus 1 I know is a negative 1, so I'm going to have a negative x squared. Now, next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to keep going down the line here. In green, I see I have a positive 4x. Again, something that would be like terms with this would just have an x for the variable. So as I'm going along, I notice I have a positive 5x here. So my next set of like terms is a 4x, and I have a positive 5x. So I know I'm going to be adding those. 4 plus 5 gives me a positive 9. So when I add this to my new expression, I'm going to do a plus 9x. And again, that plus sign is because 4 plus 5 gives me a positive 9. All right, the last piece of this then, I see I have a constant, a negative 7, and then I have a positive 10. So I'm combining a negative 7 plus 10. Well, negative 7 plus 10 is a positive 3. And again, because that's positive, I have a plus sign in my expression. So my new simplified expression, once I've combined the like terms, is this expression right here. Now, in addition to combining like terms, we also talked about distributing. So sometimes to simplify an expression, we need to distribute. And here I want to make a note. When we were combining like terms, we were adding or subtracting. It's important to remember when we're distributing, we're actually doing multiplication. So we're going to be multiplying whenever we're distributing. So the idea is that we take our number outside the parentheses and we multiply it by both terms in the parentheses. And we use these little arrows to help us to remember to do that. Now, just like up here, we're really just worried about the coefficient here. I'm doing a negative 4 times a positive 2, which I know gives me a negative 8, and the x travels along with. The next thing I have to do is a negative 4 times a negative 8. I have to be really careful with my signs here. A negative times a negative gives me a positive 32. So those are the two big ideas that we're going to need for today. Now, if you look at these problems at the bottom of the page, and excuse me while I kind of move my camera here, you'll notice that now I know I have to distribute because I see these parentheses just like I did here, but I also am going to have some terms I need to combine. So I want to make a note here that when we have to distribute and combine, we're going to always distribute first. So whenever I see these parentheses, I've got some terms out here and I've got these parentheses, I'm always going to distribute first to get rid of those parentheses, and then I can combine my like terms. So for number 1, to get started, I'm going to pretend for a second like that negative 4 isn't there. And I'm going to deal with my positive 7. So I'm going to distribute 7 times 1. I'm using multiplication, gives me a positive 7. And I'm going to put that plus sign so I remember that was positive. Then I have positive 7 times a negative 3, which is going to give me a negative 21. And then I'm going to bring down the m. Now, I can't forget about my negative 4. I have to remember to bring that down to my new expression. Now, once I've distributed, now I can go see if I have any like terms. And what I notice is that I actually have 2 constants. Remember, constants are numbers that are just by themselves. I have a negative 4 plus 7. If I were to add negative 4 plus 7, I get positive 3. And then I would bring down the minus 21m. Now there's no parentheses and there's no like terms, so I know that expression is simplified. All right, let's do another one. I have the same idea here. I have a term that's kind of on its own out here. And then this term is kind of attached here by parentheses. So those parentheses are signaling that I have to do some distributing. So again, I'm going to kind of ignore this for right now. 3n times 6, when I distribute here, I'm multiplying the coefficients. So 3 times 6 gives me an 18. Again, that's a positive, so I'm going to put the plus. And then I bring down my n. Now with my second term, I have to be a little bit careful. I do need to multiply the coefficients. 3 times 7 gives me a positive 21. But here I also have to multiply the 2 variables together. When I have an n times an n, that's going to give me an n squared. And again, that n squared happened because I had n times n when I was multiplying those 2 terms. Now that I've removed my parentheses, I can bring down my negative 5n. And again, this is the time where we would look for like terms and combine them. So my n squared doesn't go with any of these because it has that 2 as the exponent. But I can combine my negative 5n and my positive 18n. So negative 5 plus 18 gives me a positive 13n. And then I'm going to bring down the plus 21n squared. All right, let's flip the page and see. Maybe we'll go over a couple more examples. We won't do all of these together in the video. I'm actually, let's see, let's skip around here. I'm going to do number 4 because this one's a little bit different, and then we'll use the next couple as a warm-up when we get into class. So let's look at number 4. Number 4 is a little bit different because I see I have 2 sets of parentheses. All that means is I'm going to be distributing twice in this problem. So for a minute, we'll just pretend this isn't here, and we'll just deal with our first piece here. Just like before, those parentheses mean we're going to be distributing. I'm going to let this readjust so you can see it. There we go. So I'm going to do my multiplication. Negative 9 times a positive 6 is a negative 54m. Negative 9 times a negative 3 is a positive 27. And then I'll just do this in different colors to make sure we're seeing the difference here. I'm just going to deal now with my second piece and do the same thing. So I have a 6 times a positive 1 is going to give me a positive 6. So I'm putting a plus sign there. I have to make sure I'm separating those terms with an addition or subtraction sign. And then positive 6 times a positive 4 is going to give me a positive 24m. So I'm about halfway done. I've distributed, so I've removed those parentheses, which I know I have to do before this expression can be simplified. So the last thing we're going to do is go ahead and find and combine our like terms. So I notice I have an m in this term and an m in this term. So I have a negative 54 plus 24 is going to give me a negative 30m. The next thing, I'm going to look for any other like terms. I have a positive 27 and a positive 6, which is going to give me a positive 33. Now I have no parentheses and no like terms, so my expression is fully simplified. So for the purpose of the video, we'll stop there. We'll use the other 3 problems we didn't do as a warm-up at the start of class, and then you'll get some time to practice and work with this in class. I will see you back in class tomorrow. Thanks.